Hey YouTube, what is going on? It's your man right here, the one and only Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders, coming at you with another installment of our WWE Cruiserweight Classic review series for this Wednesday night of July 20th, 2016. Those of you that just got done watching the Cruiserweight series right along with me, I want to hear from you guys. I want to get your thoughts on what matches had jumped out at you. Post those comments down below. Remember, you can also interact with me on Twitter. Give me a follow over there as well at the RCWR Show. Also on Facebook. All the links you need is actually in the video description down below. So make sure you check it out when you get the opportunity. This was the second week as the first round of the Cruiserweight tournament had continued on, and it's going to continue on next week, just the first round. So I think we're actually getting ready to wrap things up, though. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. And hey, look, before I go any further, I definitely want to give you guys a mad shout out that had checked out our inaugural edition based on a little bit of feedback that I had saw, especially as far as the like system had went and all that. I saw there was a decent amount of you guys that had appreciated what we did with the inaugural edition last week. I'm still trying this out on a trial basis. So like I said, with the very first review episode that we did for you guys, I'm gonna say it again here, which is if you appreciate the Cruiserweight coverage, definitely make sure you give that thumbs up, voice your opinions, let it be heard, not only by commenting below, but throughout social media. I'm probably going to do like maybe 2 more of these and then just kind of like just take in all the feedback that I've been getting and try to figure out if this is something that we should cover here exclusively on YouTube on a regular basis, or just maybe kind of briefly talk about it on the podcast. If you don't know about the podcast, I'll mention that towards the end of the show. Let's go ahead and let's jump to this. I actually had to take a lot of notes tonight for this show because there were so many names that were coming at me left and right. A lot of these guys that I had saw performing tonight, I like quickly became a fan of them overnight, that like I'm trying to like see any other matches that they're in. Things had kicked off with the Japanese buzzsaw. Tajiri. When was the last time, for those of you that know your WWE product very well, when was the last time we saw Tajiri in the WWE on a long-term basis? I mean, Tajiri, no stranger to the WWE, multi-time tag champion, multi-time cruiserweight champion. You think about one of the most infamous feuds that jump out at me was definitely when he was fighting Super Crazy. But I mean, my God, I would be here all night just going over fun memories of Tajiri. But 45, 46 years of age, Tajiri has not aged worth a damn. Like, you guys that got access to the WWE network yet, and you like did not have the pleasure of checking out tonight's continuation of the Cruiserweight series, it's going to be on demand, as you know. You're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Tajiri has not aged worth a damn. I mean, not one. I'm like, well, maybe he's aged in. He doesn't even look like he's aged in the face. I mean, he has found the fountain of youth, let me tell you. But we saw the Japanese buzzsaw Tajiri return to action as he took on someone I'm like totally like not even familiar with. A young man by the name of Damien Slater. Now, I pulled up some information to try to help not only educate myself, but educate you guys that was watching as well. Like, yeah, what's going on with some of these guys? Well, he is dubbed as the Golden Boy, first off, and he's mainly wrestled down in Australia. He's mainly based out in the South Australia and Perth areas. And he's done work for such promotions as EPW 01 Australia, Wrestle Rampage, MCW, Warzone Wrestling, Wrestle Clash, just to name a few of the promotions with you guys. He looked pretty impressive. Nice outing. against Tajiri. You know, one of the things that like I started opening up my mind to more since this cruiserweight tournament began, I just started looking at all of these participants and I kind of started saying to myself, okay, who really has like a good, strong work ethic? Who shows as though they have a lot of potential as far as being some type of a stapleton for the WWE, in particular when they get ready to launch this cruiserweight division that is supposed to be exclusive to Monday Night Raw. But then I'm also kind of looking at things from the standpoint of, okay, well, even if the person or persons involved in this cruiserweight tournament doesn't get the victory, meaning they're out of the tournament, who would probably be given the developmental deal? So I couldn't help but look at this young man Slater, not to be confused with Heath Slater, and say, you know what? This guy's got a nice, decent look. He kind of seems as though he needs to be really nurtured and molded in the WWE system a tad bit more, but seems like he has a lot of potential. Okay, let's see how this match goes. And I got to say, he held his own very well against the Japanese buzzsaw. Tajiri, of course, anybody that is familiar with Tajiri in his singles matches, you know his trademark is that buzzsaw kick. And he did connect that to the temple of Damien Slater to pick up the 1-2-3 via pinfall to advance to the second round of the tournament series. But I would be shocked if maybe like we saw the last of Damien Slater. I'm really kind of getting the impression that we could see a scenario come about where maybe, just maybe, he would be given a developmental deal. Now, if you were to ask me straight up, if I was in charge, if I had the capabilities, would I give him a developmental deal? Oh, absolutely. I definitely would give him a developmental deal. But Tajiri advancing with regards to that opener. That was actually a really good opener too, man. Let me tell you what, really good opener. And for those of you that's been wondering, by the way, what has been going on with Tajiri, because I know like a lot of you guys probably don't have access to a lot of some of the other wrestling promotions that's out there. I know some of you guys know about New Japan. You may know about Ring of Honor. You may know about Dragon Gate, but like for those of you all that don't really follow any of those promotions, but you do remember Tajiri, and you're kind of like, well, what exactly has the man been doing since his days in the WWE? Just kind of give you guys a little bit of a brief recap here. He was placed in charge of Smash, which was a new promotion that was taking the place of Hustle. This went down in about 2010. And from what I remember of that promotion, I don't think that really lasted that long. From there, he ended up going to WNC, which was the Wrestling New Classic. He did that from like 2012 to 2014. Let's see, what else did he do? I remember his stint in TNA that like lasted for 1 year, and that was only like for the span of several months. He was rarely used there, quite honestly. He also did some stuff for the Wrestle One promotion. So, you know, he's been somewhat active. He's been bouncing around here and there, staying somewhat relatively busy, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a heads up. But regardless if Tajiri wins or not, as far as this tournament goes, honestly, I'm sticking to my picks from what I said last week as far as like who's going to win this overall. I don't see Tajiri winning it, but I would hope that Tajiri is now back in good graces with the WWE in a way where maybe we could see him really help out when they get ready to launch this cruiserweight division. I definitely think that veteran presence would greatly be appreciated for the new, young, and up-and-coming guys that's going to help round off the cruiserweight division as a whole. So I really wouldn't be too surprised if we saw him stay in the WWE for a good hot minute. Our next matchup, we saw TJ Perkins take on Germany's Mack. And I'm not talking about Rodney Mack. Yeah, not that Mack. This was a new Mack. I thought I was watching Snoop Dogg wrestle for a minute. I had to kind of do a double take, man. You guys will kind of get that when you go back and watch the match. But if you watch the match, I know you see that joke that I mentioned right there, but it's all good. Nothing but love, nothing but fun and games over here. But no, with all seriousness, TJ Perkins, I'm very familiar with. Sadly, I did not see a ton of his stuff in ROH and other promotions before that. I basically came on board TJ Perkins during his tenure in TNA wrestling. I saw when he was the Suicide character, and then he went from Suicide to being Manic, and I was always a fan of his work in TNA. I really felt that I felt they really had a good thing going with him when he was the Suicide character, and there was like this mystery surrounding like, okay, who's the guy behind the face? And those of you that know your TNA wrestling very well, you know there was a few times there where there was, I think, 3 to maybe 4 people that was under the Suicide mask. Christopher Daniels being one of those individuals. I kind of want to say Frankie Kazarian, but I'm not really at 100% of willing to just commit to that name. But I know Christopher Daniels at one point was Suicide, but for the longest time, it would end up being TJ Perkins. And I thought he did a phenomenal job with that. And then they just did this one infamous night where we saw Suicide, and somehow he put himself in a position where he became like the X Division winner or something like that, because he was looking to cash in the belt for a shot at the TNA World Heavyweight title. So basically it'd be a TNA title match for the big belt. And we saw Suicide come out, but it was TJ Perkins, and he's like, hey, that ain't Suicide. I'm Suicide. What the hell? And like from that point going forward, it just kind of seemed like his career as a Max luchador, somewhat of a luchador. He wasn't really a luchador, but like those of you that like watched him in TNA, you know exactly what I'm talking about as far as his style there. But then we saw him do the whole metamorphosis to Manic, and it was never quite the same, but it was a nice experiment, I will say. One thing that I always felt very passionately about with regards to TJ Perkins, or TJP, always had the talent, no doubt about that. And it was very refreshing just off the gates to see him this first go round, you know, not officially on WWE's flagship shows, but just the fact that he's on a WWE produced TV series, even if it's on the network, you know what I'm saying? Just to see him this first go out, I couldn't help but say, damn, you know, this guy I hadn't even seen this guy go into the ring yet, and he had such great swagger. You watched his video packages, and there was a ton of great video packages that we saw tonight in setting up the proper introduction for these athletes that we were about to see throw it down in the ring. But TJ Perkins' package definitely stood out to me the most, because I saw such a very loose, a very charismatic TJP than what I've seen of him in the other promotion. And I was just really taken back by that in a very pleasant way. And I'm going, well, wow, he's come along very well. All right, well, let's see what happens in the ring. The Mack, I got to make sure I show as much love with regards to TJ Perkins. I got to make sure I put enough love on the Mack. I mentioned earlier that young man, he is from Germany. He's been wrestling for a good minute now, from what I was able to gather. If I'm not mistaken, he's been going at it since 2008, I want to say. 28 years of age. He's mainly done some work for the West Side Extreme Wrestling promotion. And yeah, he's pretty good. A lot of people know him from his tag team with Dieter Jr. called Hot and Spicy. So for those of you that had saw this match with TJ Perkins tonight and you're kind of wondering like, yeah, what was going on with the Hot and Spicy chants? Well, one, that's what was on his trunks. Now, of course, not everybody would be able to see that was there in the arena. So it's kind of like, how do they all like? It's because a lot of those people know what this guy was about. They know about that tag team that he was in. So that's why you had those chants that was going on. This was actually a really good matchup as well. TJ Perkins really shining big time in this matchup right here. He actually ended up picking up the victory. I can't remember the finish to that respected matchup, but I was quite pleased, let me tell you, with the performance of TJP right down to the point. He's another one I'm just looking at going forward. Could he win the whole thing? If I'm not mistaken, I did say on the inaugural episode, and I'll go back and I'll make sure. I wish I would have done it before I came on live, but if I'm not mistaken, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I believe I did say that one of my top 3 to win it overall was TJ Perkins. I also said for selfish reasons, Brian Kendrick would be another good runner-up. I can't really remember my third pick right now. If it comes to me before this broadcast is over, I'll mention it, but I'll definitely remember it next week going forward. But TJ Perkins, I was really impressed, man. I'm just going forward, win the whole thing or not. I'd like to see him get some type of a deal with the WWE. Honestly, I'll go a step further with regards to TJP. I'm so confident in this man's ability, and just based on what I saw of his new swagger, his new charisma that he had going on there. I know it wasn't that much. I'm not really trying to overanalyze it or anything, but I saw enough that kind of made me go, you know, if over time we can have TJ put on a little bit more bulk, I don't know, man. I don't know. You might be able to kind of put him at that mid-card level. I'm not saying world championship, because I know that's going to have a lot of people just getting themselves all in a bunch and all that, getting their underwear in a bunch. So I'm not going to jump that high just yet. But I think we all would be in agreement based off what we saw of him tonight, especially those of us that have been following his career for a significant period of time. He was very good, and honestly, as far as like a good tenure in the WWE, he would definitely have that. The Mack, on the other hand, you know, obviously he lost. Now the question, you know, does he maybe get some type of a developmental deal? I don't really know. I mean, no disrespect to the Mack fans that's out there, but I really didn't see that much. I mean, first thing that's kind of jumping in my head, he loves dancing and he's a big fan of Michael Jackson and all that. And I'm going, okay, well, that's pretty good. But with regards to this whole dancing, Michael Jackson, you really like, well, we kind of like already have that with Nakamura. So like, you're going to need to do a little bit more fine tuning right there. And it's kind of like, okay, well, what else could we do with this young man? I think his heart is in the right place as far as like his personality, what he was trying to display to the fans and all that. I think all that is there. But I think the one thing that's like really not going in his favor, sadly, is the fact of his build. He is a rather, now look, I normally wouldn't be tripping over a particular person's build, because Lord knows, you look at Cheeseburger over in ROH and he is tearing it up. I think it's just a travesty that now we've got the Chris Jerichos, the Dwayne The Rock Johnsons, and a whole bunch of other guys going, oh, hey, this Cheeseburger, you know, it's just like, it's no different than, fun joke for you guys. I'm not getting sidetracked. It just relates to what I just put out there to you guys, so stay with me. But this is like a good analogy. You ever notice how like your friends and all that, white, Japanese, or black, Didn't give a flying hoot about Mexican food before, but then a new Chipotle gets built like right around the corner from the job or whatever, and like they're like Christopher Columbus, like they discovered something that's like really freaking delicious, and the messed up part is it's not real Mexican food. Okay, I've had Mexican friends say to me when we've gone to Chipotle, they go, this isn't the real deal. It's like it's okay, but it's my people can make this 3 times better. Okay, so I'm just kind of looking at what's going on with the Mack, and I'm just kind of saying, is there any way we can zest this guy up? Is there any way we can like make him better? And right now, I'm not really quite seeing that right now, to the point I wouldn't mind seeing him come back in maybe a year or 2. I think the in-ring ability is there. I think the seasoning and all that, everything is there. I just think it's more about needing to fine-tune his appearance a little bit more. Something just seems to be missing with that young man. And Cheeseburger has always, and I'm not talking about the food itself, but I'm talking about the wrestler Cheeseburger. Cheeseburger has always had that connection with the fans. And I even try to just look at this young man from just that kind of standpoint, try to look at him and compare him to Cheeseburger. And I don't know, something I can't quite put my finger on. I don't know if it's the build. I really don't. I hate to put it on the build because I look at Cheeseburger, who's got practically the same damn build. But I think you guys that know your wrestling, I think you guys would, for the most part, be in agreement with me that there's something missing right there from the Mack. Let's continue on. We got a couple more matches to talk about. I think we only got about maybe 2 more matches, so we're almost done for tonight. Probably my favorite match of the entire night tonight, Mustafa Ali taking on Lince Dorado. Whew, my God, if you have somebody that has access to the WWE network and they've yet to get into this whole Cruiserweight Classic series, I think this would be the match you show them to convince them, look, this is what you're missing out on. You got to start watching this. This was the match of the night. Little bit of a background with regards to these 2 new guys. I will start with Lince Dorado. He's really best known, 29 years of age, from San Juan, Puerto Rico. He's mainly known for working in the promotion Akira. And matter of fact, he made his debut in Akira. We're going as far back as 2007. So he's been at this for a very good long minute right now. A very good long minute is what I was trying to say. He's also done some stuff on independent circuits such as Dragon Gate, Freedom Gate Championships tournament. He also briefly did a few stints in TNA wrestling, did like some one-off appearances. So, he's another one that has somewhat been relatively active. And that gives you the proper backdrop on that young man. Meanwhile, you go to my man that I was talking about earlier, which is Mustafa Ali. He is, I think, born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, or he's living in Chicago. I remember when they set up his video package, he referenced Chicago. He is the first Pakistani wrestler to be competing in the WWE. Now, there's a really good interview that he had conducted with the Express Tribune. I recommend that you guys check that out because he talked about getting a terrorist gimmick on the independent circuit. He also talked about his first WWE tryout match and more. And it's a really good read, rather short, brief to the point, but check that out when you guys get an opportunity. And I tell you, I was really confused with his video package because although it was a really good video package, when he came out, they had like this rap music that was going on, and then you have the announcer saying from Pakistan or what have you. And I'm kind of going, wait a minute, this doesn't quite, like, what are we trying to accomplish here? Because it was really confusing the way they just meshed all that up. And it just kind of made me wonder, like, do they like exactly know what they were trying to do gimmick wise with this guy when they were introducing him to us for the very first time? Like, were we supposed to boo this guy? Were we supposed to cheer him on? Like, I don't know. But in either case, with regards to this matchup, 5-star quality all the way. We saw moves in this match that, like, I didn't even know was like humanly possible. And like, we have seen some odd move combinations, especially for those of us gamers that's familiar with the 2K series. You can chain all these different grappling moves together, especially the moves in the air, and you could do all this crazy stuff that like defies gravity. But these guys were doing stuff, and I definitely got to show some love to Lince Dorado. He did one move just alone was insane that had Daniel Bryan like, can we see the instant replay of that? I mean, he was begging the monkeys in the back to pull up the instant replay. Lince Dorado, that is, he actually performed a springboard reverse hurricanrana. Now just think about that for a minute. A springboard reverse hurricanrana. And it's like, how's that even? If it's been done before, I don't know nothing about it. I've seen just about every single move that is out there. I'm kicking back, and like I said, I was seeing stuff that like made me go, wow, I didn't even know that was like humanly possible. Great matchup between those two guys. Both of those guys deserve to get a contract when it's all said and done. I'd love to see both of those guys be cornerstones for the new cruiserweight division when it gets ready to start up for the WWE on the Raw flagship show. We saw Lince Dorado pick up the victory with a Saya moonsault, if I'm not mistaken. Connected well, got the pinfall, 1, 2, 3. One more match to talk about, and that had consisted of Akira Tozawa. I gotta do this man's name's justice here. Let me try that one more time. I know I got the Akira part down. Akira Tozawa. I got it right that time. Took on Kenneth Johnson. Kenneth Johnson. Never heard of this guy. Another one that I'm like, who is this guy? Let me do a little bit of research on him. And a nice little backdrop story that Daniel Bryan and Mauro Ranallo had gave us with regards to him. Apparently, this guy had suffered from a very serious speech impediment. I don't know if this was like the result of an accident or if this was something that he had since birth or what. They really didn't elaborate on that. But they basically said Kenneth Johnson had came to a WWE tryout camp, and agents, they were really impressed with what they had saw of him, but they didn't like the fact that he had a serious speech impediment. He was stuttering just all over the place, had a very hard time putting words together. They told him, look, we want you involved in this tournament, but you got to do us a solid, prove to us that you really want this opportunity. And what we want you to do, if you're really serious, go back, try to clean up that speech impediment, get some teaching, do whatever you need to do. Come back, give us a call in 6 months. If you can clear that up dramatically, we'll let you into the tournament. And apparently that's what he did. And you could kind of tell that something was a little bit off when you watched his video package. Now, look, now that I've said that, and hopefully folks that's like checking this out, trying to figure out if they should go and check out this week's CWC, I gotta admit, when his video package and all that first came on, like, I'm already starting to have a chuckle because I'm like, what the heck is going on with this guy? Like, you're serious? Like, I'm supposed to take this guy against one of Japan's favorites. Like, I'm supposed to take this match seriously because when you see this guy, you're going, okay, he looks like a very pleasant, happy-go person mixed in with Jim Carrey, Fire Marshal Bill. But then when you learn like what was going on with him, those thoughts quickly go away, and you're like, ooh, okay, hands off. Okay, let's focus on the match then. I thought he held his own pretty well in this match. Not to the point that I felt like should he get some type of a developmental deal. I think whatever it was that he went through, the trials, the tribulations to get to where he was in this tournament tonight against Akira, I think that's a really good testament to itself. I mean, he's already popular. I mean, I would think like before a week even passes, he's going to have like 3 times more of the following. So WWE did him really good justice. His stock has definitely increased dramatically, I would think. But, you know, in a perfect world, this guy's upbringings and all that is like perfect ingredients for a wrestling promoter to like say, yeah, you know what, this is something that I can get behind, especially if I'm trying to have a nice, good, pure baby face and I'm trying to have somebody that can connect very well with the crowd. Yeah, let me get somebody like this. The fans will eat this up. They'll gravitate towards this, especially if I can build some type of a nice, cool catchphrase around this guy and all that. But that WWE mode, I don't know. In recent years, they've been doing things that's kind of like surprised me a little bit, but I'm just not kind of picking up that vibe right now that that's something that they would seriously bite into. Have we seen the last of him? I would hope not. I mean, for selfish reasons, I would hope not. But for those of you that's like, I wonder if we'll see him back in the WWE, I wouldn't necessarily hold your breath with regards to that one. Sad but true. I know, sad but true. But good matchup. I really kind of felt as though Kenneth Johnson was like, for what he did, it was decent. It was decent, but Akira, like I have seen some of his matches off and on in various promotions, and I just kind of felt like he kind of downplayed his ability to really try to help complement Kenneth Johnson. And I think those of you that are longtime Akira fans would probably be in agreement with me with regards to that one. Sick ass finish to that matchup too, by the way. We actually saw Akira connect with a German suplex. It was a back German suplex that he turned into a bridge with pin to get the 1, the 2, and the 3. Oh my God. It's a great, strong freaking finish that went down, man. Very solid. And that was pretty much your installment. Mauro Ranallo, Daniel Bryan continuing to be on a roll, providing their commentating. And, you know, I'm just briefly now, I want to mention this. I'm just like kind of reminded of interview / conversation that I had with Rich Brennan of NXT. And he was talking about how a lot of times when they were taping episodes of NXT and like they have to like provide commentating for something that like hasn't even happened yet, and how they have to like channel the reactions and all that. You know, a lot of the matches that we're seeing was like already taped like several weeks back, a couple of months back. So you can't help but wonder, like with regards to what you're seeing with Mauro Ranallo, Daniel Bryan, if that's taped, and you know if well, you know it's taped because if you pay attention to your Twitter timeline, you're getting like instant retweets and all that from Mauro, Daniel Bryan, and you're kind of like, wow, these guys are moving pretty fast. There's no, they're not looking at the phone and commentating. And like I said, this was taped weeks back, but you can't help but kind of wonder, like, and I bring this up because there was a part at the beginning of the show where Daniel Bryan was congratulated by Mauro on his new position. And Daniel Bryan cuts like this very just generic, you know, I'm grateful for the opportunity, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the tournament. And I'm just kind of reminded of the interview I had with Rich, because he was talking about how when you tape these things weeks in advance and something has happened that you haven't seen with your own eyes yet, you haven't experienced yet, and you have to try to figure out the emotions to try to channel with regards to that. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Very interesting. Leave those comments down below if you had saw tonight's CWC. Definitely want to hear from you guys. I saw one notification. I'll definitely get to that in a hot minute. Give you guys a quick reminder. Next edition of the RCWR show is going to be coming on Sunday night, June 24th. Oh, I said June. God damn, there I go. Time flies. Forgive me, guys. Sunday night, July 24th, we're going to be covering the WWE Battleground pay-per-view. We'll be doing that live exclusively on Spreaker.com. If you can't check it out live, it'll be available on the downloads on great platforms such as iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher. All the information you need is in the video description below. So check it out when you guys get the opportunity. And then your regular edition of the RCWR show will be coming at you on Spreaker Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, on what's that? Tuesday, July 26th. So let's get to some of the other comments here. I saw like one comment. I definitely want to make sure we show love to those that's commenting. And I'm going to have to pull it up another way. So bear with me a second here, guys. Next week, the tournament continues, round one. One of the most exciting names that jumps out at me, we're going to get to see the Brian Kendrick. I know there's a lot of Brian Kendrick fans that have eagerly been anticipating this moment, because Brian Kendrick is the freaking man, hands down. So looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do next week. I think I went with Brian Kendrick. I'm pretty sure Brian Kendrick, TJ Perkins. Oh, I can't remember my third guy. I wish I could remember my third guy. Shout out to Austie, who said, great second week of the CWC. Mustafa Ali really impressed me even in defeat. I will say, I mean, I watched the Twitter timeline just blow up with regards to both of those men, but there was a lot of love for Mustafa Ali. I definitely don't feel we've seen the last of him. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. All right. So you guys that, because I know we just pretty much wrapped it up and all that. So for those of you that's actually going to be watching this recording, I definitely want to know what you thought of this week's CWC. So definitely post those comments down below. Make sure you also give me a follow on Twitter as well, at the RCWR Show. We're on Facebook as well. It is right now Infinity One Productions. That's with an E, but spell out one. But I put in a request to change the name of the Facebook page to the RCWR Show. So I'm waiting for that to be approved. But as it stands right now, Infinity One Productions on Facebook. And that is going to do it. If you appreciated what I did here for you guys this week, give me those thumbs up, retweet, reshare the episode, add it to your favorites. Really helps me out tremendously. And of course, if you're new, hit the subscribe button so you never miss out on all the great content we do for you here on a semi-weekly basis. Wishing all y'all to be safe. Be kind to one another. This week, CWC gets a strong passing grade. We'll do this again for you guys next week. Everybody, do take care. Good night. Good morning.